Hi, I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Cassie, and if we haven't met before, I am a molecular and microbiologist at the University of Colorado, where I do medical research. I also love sharing my passion for science with students. I run interactive science programs in the Denver metro area, and something my students ask me about all the time is, what does a real lab look like? I know in the media and movies and TV shows, labs are always portrayed in a certain way. I just wanted to bring my students into a lab where they could see what real research kind of looks like. Unfortunately, the lab that I work in studies infectious diseases, and so I can't bring my students there. But I thought today we could do a tour on this video so that they could see where I work. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is one of our robots. It does a lot of pipetting for us. You can see there are pipette tips in there, places to put different kinds of tubes, and it does a lot of our work for us. And here is one of our bays where we keep other special instruments. These are called thermal cyclers. We use these to do a special reaction called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. We have other equipment like vortexers, these shake things, and centrifuges that spin things down, and you can see they spin and bring our reactions to the bottom of the tube. And if we come over here, this is where we keep all of our chemicals, and you can see we have scales here to measure them. These scales measure different amounts, so this one can do heavier items and this one will do much lighter ones. We have something called a hot plate, so you can see it's got some scorch marks on it. This heats things up and keeps them warm, and it also has a stir bar on it, so we can put these little magnetic stir bars in there, and these are magnetic, they stick, and you can see if we turn it on it can spin. So we'll put this in containers of solutions to mix them up. Now we have a microwave in here, which is kind of strange, but we use that to heat up something called agarose. And when we heat up the agarose, we can use it to make very special materials called gels that we use to separate different kinds of chemicals. And in our case, we use it to separate DNA and proteins. And then every good lab needs pipettes. We've got some nice pipettes here. This one can pipette 8 different things at once, which is very helpful when you're pipetting hundreds of things every day. And then if we come over here, we have what is called a hood. Now this is a special kind of hood. It's a laminar flow hood, which means air gets filtered from the top, comes through, and clean air comes down and shoots out. And that protects our samples from us breathing on them, or any DNA or bacteria that might be in the air. And this type of hood protects our samples. I'll show you a different hood in a minute that protects the scientists. And then obviously we have lots of storage for different supplies that we need to use. Here's a different kind of centrifuge. Just spins them around. And over here we have some other robots. So these robots we use for extracting DNA out of samples. We try to look at the DNA and see what bacteria DNA is different between healthy people and sick people. And I'll have some other videos showing how all of our robots work at a different time. But a very important component is our biological safety cabinet. So this is a little bit different than the other hood that we use. This one, you can see right here, has air that comes up. It blows up and goes up into there, and that makes sure that any hazardous materials coming out of here get sucked back up into the hood, into the decontamination systems, so that it doesn't make the scientists sick when they're working with samples like blood or stool that might have hazardous materials in them. Over here we have something called a bead beater. This shakes things very vigorously. It breaks up cell walls and opens them up so that we can get DNA out. Here's another centrifuge. This just spins tubes to get things down to the bottom. And then over here we have another hood that we use for our DNA work. That is the type of hood, it's a laminar flow hood that protects the samples. And then we have a lot of just, you know, materials. Unfortunately, science goes through a lot of plastic. We use a lot of plastic tubes, a lot of plastic cartridges, and we have to keep it all stored on our shelves. Just like so. Lots of gloves to protect our hands. And then we'll come over here. You can see we have some compressed gases. And then this is a special instrument that we use to sequence DNA, which is really the workhorse of our lab. And then this is a different kind of hood. This is called a fume hood. This hood sucks any hazardous chemicals up and away from the person working with it. So this is where we work with a lot of our hazardous chemicals. You can see and that is basically what the lab I work in looks like. I'll just do a quick walk around here. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour of my lab. I hope you enjoyed it. Please keep in mind, this is just one kind of lab. This is a molecular biology lab. And there are so many other kinds of labs. So many different kinds of research happens, even just on the campus that I work on. So if there's a different kind of lab or science that you would like to be exposed to, please leave a comment below and I will talk to my friends here on campus and see if I can arrange a tour of a different kind of lab. And if there's any other science topics that you're interested in learning about, let me know because I would be happy to make some videos and share those with you. Again, thank you so much for joining me. This was super fun, and until next time, keep discovering.